kizenzi y'amaso uwo mukwano yandage kulu simanyi gye ndagaana olugendo lwawala n'atuuka obulo bange yarazizza omuwere nsula tudde okutuusa lw'olidde emmeeme n'ogikakkanye ntawaanya oba liberanye ebirowoozo bimumanyi lwe ntumulabako emitima girecca yananaaza enze bulamu bwe gyali kimanya alibeera omubwati nga nsuubira mwoyo omu anawanirira omutima gwange ono y'ono y'oyo yeggwe nsonga mwoyo gwakalosa akasuku pambatira perekera ontuusa alibeera omubwati n'onyoyo balungi yegombesa wegonjewa ampewa ettaamu linennesumulula yansobola teryawakana yebusobozi obumpanguza embeera yonna yeyekka aliwoyo n'onyoyo obalibera n'ebirowoozo bimumanyi lwe ntumulabako emitima girecca yananazako bwomu nga yenze bulamu bwe gyali kimanya alibeera omubwati nga nsuubira mwoyo omu anawanirira omutima gwange ono y'ono y'oyo yeggwe ensonga mwoyo gwakalosa akasuku pambatira perekera ontuusa alibeera omubwati n'onyoyo oli kibuyaga eri abalabe abo abancunya obamaze nzitowererwa ebinumba naye lwose bampewuse mukwano gukumidde ogw'ababiri zigusangibwa buli wamu omutonzi yabakonyemu gakkiriza nkubeere omwoyoberera oh yeah. Kimanya alibeera omubwati nga nsuubira mwoyo omu anawanirira omutima gwange ono y'ono y'oyo yeggwe ensonga pambatira perekera ontuusa alibeera omubwati n'onyoyo kimanya alibeera omubwati nga nsuubira mwoyo omu anawanirira omutima gwange ono y'ono y'oyo yeggwe ensonga mwoyo gwakalosa akasuku alibeera omubwati n'onyoyo ondazenye ebirungi bukya tubeera babiri nga tuli fembi teweegombera balala ng'omukwano gwa ddala now you've shown me omukwano mutali nkenyera mwenya kati nafuna emirembe seyeyagerya tokunyanja nga neeyagala buli kyoyagala kiŋŋambe nja kwagalira ne mu bulwadde buno omukwano gusukulume nanze Subizane waddeyo bino byonna bituukirizanga guno omutima kye gundagira kye nkola ye mukama wange wempuliriza nsonga zonna ezikwata ku kwagala yanjawulire ku bituufu bwe gundaze nti omutuufu yekwe buli kyoyagala kingambe kyakwagalira ne mu bulwadde n'omukwano gusukume nze ndiwo wange ne mu bukadde tuli wamu omukwano gulubeerera bwe gubeera kyakwagala do us a party omusana bwe gutaako buli lukya kyakwagala let's make it last hey mubona wasingayo kuntegeera era osingira buli mbeera yekwe asusa ntodde ntunula olubeerera lw'otabadde mpulira ntabuka seetaagenga do us a party omusana bwe gutaako buli lukya njakwagala let's make it last ng'omukwano ng'omusana kyemanyi ndi wamu naawe guno omwoyo gwe nnina tegukyanonyayo mulala gwe nange mba nteredde yadde nkuli wala nnyo so kitya nja kubeewala abo ababadde bakumirira okunemesa bunkwerabire bakwekkize ab'ebigambo tebawulira tebamanyiyo gye tulaga ne gye tuva tusaanye tugume obutego mu mukwano bungi nnyo guma omwoyo nesiga nga bwe nkwesiga bino byenkugamba mazima nkulayirira komawo bululwa kuba nkwata musobwamu bwange omwoyo gwe nnina tegukyanonye mulala guma omwoyo ebikemera ebise bingi nze nkute naye kyendabye sikyanonye mulala gwe nange mba nteredde gwe nange mba nteredde emijenju nange byakusika miguwa kuwatanya emirimu gitambule nga naye nnemesebwa oluusi olw'omukwano gutandi kumpi banneebuuza alinaanya mukuma kati aliwaanya muwulira nenneewaayo kuguma olw'obwesigwa bwe nkussaamu guma omwoyo nga bwe nkwesiga bino byenkugamba mazima nkulayirira nkoma waggulu lwa kuba nkwata kusonga mu bwange Thank you, TML, for having me for this episode of Conversations. And once again, thank you for having me.
I want you more and more. My love flow like a waterfall. I fight for your light on more. And no matter who we I make them more. Show me your true colors, boy. Show me your true colors, boy. Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day. Today you say yes, tomorrow you tell me no. You give me a smiling face, when you go, you turn and go. You love me in minus, tomorrow it's too short. Boy, what you want, what you don't want, in the same money, no me no. What you want, what you don't want, in the same money, no me no. Show me your true colors, boy. Show me your true colors, boy. Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day. Man for a woman, Zenon's a way if you take my hand. Every dog gets ten, little yans if you buy my pen. When to know the good of a cheek, tell me what you see. Bumpy man's a college, I tell you what I feel. Gavin your name of butter. Gavin got more good chaga, me and you, yeah. Cause I will say the old and I go me a blow. Hey, cause I will say the old and I go. Show me your true color. Show me your true colors, boy. Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday and day. Show me your true color. Show me your true colors. Monday and day, Monday and day, Monday. kusala wonkwesuke nkuweka breakfast in bed yekwekwe mpito wewange sikukweka no yekwekwe nalotanga gwenalala sanga buli kyendaga wotolya kulyanga sentaga appetite nga yeshanga n'omutima nga gwewuba wasuka kubyeshama kyembasikwa kwerwasa naddala ng'olude I'm loving your love baby nze gwegwe mpito wange I'm loving your love baby watenga sinakwata mu nsawo I'm loving your love baby nze gwegwe mpito wange I'm loving your love daily yeah. Electric guitar melody, my tone them time sanity. Wawa Wendy, and all you got never California. Yeah, come on, I'm sing when I'm on your ambula. All in energy, go up so I don't baby. No fire can cool without you. Holding up on it perfume and soap. Mosawo, karibu kwangu. Nikupe mapenzi yote dale. Iyekwe ansana. Delicious tomato soup, baby. Oh, never wakata. I'm loving your love, baby. I'm loving your love, baby. What thing I sing of what I'm on top. I'm loving your love, baby. And like when we talk, I'm loving your love daily. Yeah. Yes, I'm so in love with you, my sweet, sweet addiction. Oh, mama, sabunze kupele wetambuza sabatu sitoma. Echintwechi singo kumumya ntituli mafuta. Chambankulira winter, nanebigere menye sewata. Atiki tiki tikta, manina ponde tere sweetie. Nkukulira winter. I'm loving your love, baby. I'm loving your love, baby. What take us in the water? I'm loving your love daily. I'm loving your love daily. What take us in the water? And every get a minute say water. Katiki tiki tikta, and in that corner city. And Kukuina winter, and every get a minute say water. Katiki tiki tikta, and in that baby. Wasukali China kadala sini Kwagala kutusa kumwezi Zikiri zambela sikari Mangukuma na kasale mahitali Chasima nikole risachi Emisuode nemekambulirako Osira mulinga wejirisa Akanyama kamyufu kuchoto amukaliriro kyusabondya amaaso gandikukwe idduka misinde mumpita njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya bw'olivuga kakaali nange ndiba kukaliya njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya akacapa malosi ku mugongo bwe kutujja nkusiiga obugalo babubuma mu kusanyusa osiiwa nkutakula yomeseza obulamu nange kunuuneemu mubisi nange nteeka mu pulaani naawe nkubalirako ebirungi ddale nze nalinako obwalaavu naye gwe kesiyo exceptional engeri gy'onkwata eri so professional amaaso gandikukwe lidduka misinde bompita njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya era bw'olivuga kakaali nange ndiba kukaliya njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya bakuyita kweyisa batulaba mbutwekoza bo bwe bagamba tebamanyi nti gwakusiima ondiwala ddala mu mutima wasemba nze nalindako obwalaavu naye gwe kesiyo exceptional engeri gy'onkwata eri so professional amaaso gandikukwe lidduka misinde bompita njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya olivuga kakaali nange ndiba kukaliya njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya amaaso gandikukwe lidduka misinde bompita nze njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya olivuga kakaali njagala tukaddiwe nga yenza goyita ddiya Oh baby, when you go sigala wawo wabweru kulindako ekiro omukwano leteno osinga bali abasooka baali bamalamu okulamu ankukubirako tebukino wewe kandeetera masanyu. Oh baby, push me to the corner, take it slow, I wanna take it down to the floor. Push me to the corner, take it slow, I wanna take it down. Nazaliwa kukwagala, tiyanjagala otekere mu matala. I was born to love you, tekako matala. Nazaliwa kukwagala, tekako matala. I was born to love you, tekako matala. But do you design when we combine, we tend to achieve a finding.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Yeah, at least somebody has also wished me a good morning. Good morning. Okay. Now I'm confident that I'll have a good morning too. You are welcome to the 27th ICPAU annual seminar. And I don't want to stand between you and your God. Therefore, I'm handing over the microphone to the person who will link you directly to God, after she has stopped embracing the president of the institute, I'm handing over to the pastor of the day to come and dedicate us to God and also pay respect to the country and the region in that order. A thousand apologies, as those guys in mind your language used to say. The pastor has a name and had not mentioned the name. This pastor is an assistant commissioner with the Ministry of Water and the Environment. She dearly loves the profession of accountancy, and she is CPA Achien Lucy Vivian.
Thank you so much, Director of Ceremonies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Your faces are bright, so I expect a louder good morning. I'd like to welcome you to our 27th annual seminar. And I would request that we stand up and we dedicate this time to the Lord. Yes, let's humble ourselves. Let's start with the Lord's Prayer. Who art in heaven, hallowed be the kingdom come, the will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours forever. Amen. Father in heaven, thank you for this day. We thank you for we are here. Many who were here last year are not here, but we are here, so we thank you for enabling us to be here. Even as we start our seminar, we'd like to celebrate the 30 years ICPAU has been in existence. And Father, for those 30 years, all we can say, Ebenezer, thus far you have brought us, and you're going to continue sustaining us as we develop the profession. Pray that you grant us wisdom and guidance in every activity we are going to do. We dedicate this seminar into your hands in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you. Let's continue standing for the national anthem and for the East African anthem. O Uganda, may God uphold thee.
O Uganda, God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free, full liberty. Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Upendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tulijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you. You may now take your seats.
Thank you, Pastor Lucy, for taking us through that session. I want to give you free advice. Lucy, this is pro bono. In Uganda of today, there's more money in pastoring than doing more many other things. So you could, you can use that information any way you want. Well, dear friends, I just realized that actually technology helps solve things, because whoever just saw you all sing the East African anthem and listening to the word would be convinced that you actually know that anthem word by word, not knowing that there was an assistive device in the room which helped you to be as good as you were. Now, let me take this opportunity to welcome everyone in this room. I'll attempt to recognize you individually, but individually sometimes involves grouping hundreds of people in one group, in one individual group. So I'll start by recognizing our dear members and other participants. I recognize our council members. Thank you for gracing this occasion. I seem to have grown a bit taller in the night, so to avoid bending, let me adjust the microphone. I want to recognize, at least I saw one. I saw, oh yeah, he's here, our past president. Or let me say, the past presidents are now, for now, represented by Protazio, CPA Protazio. Welcome. I want to recognize our colleagues from, what is the right word? Are they sister or brother institutes from the region, institutes of accountants? They are sisters. Okay. Okay, at least I see a sister, but most of them are represented by brothers in this room. So that's why I was not sure which word to use, how to describe them. I want to recognize and welcome our president, CPA Constant Mayende. And I want to steal what the next person on this microphone would have done, to recognize the chief guest, Dr. Mike Entebbe. You're welcome, sir. We are extremely grateful that you took off time. I'm not using these next words in the normal way, from your busy schedule. You took off time from your actual busy schedule. Some people pretend to have busy schedules and they are welcomed and thanks for taking off time, but I'm certain you took off time from your busy schedule. In my work life, I was in that bank at the lowest possible rank, but I was busy. Now, how about the person on the highest seat? Thank you, sir. The next person to take this microphone has made life easy for me, because I asked her, how do you want me to introduce you? She refused to tell me. So now if I goof around, don't blame me. The next person is a seasoned accountant. She is one who represents the Institute at very many prestigious areas. I know for a fact that she is, at some point, the boss of the man I was speaking about with serious reverence. She's but that institute, that organization is difficult because he's also a board member, so they are at par. They are bosses of each other. Let us take it like that. She is the CFO of ESCOM. This morning I was teasing her about a certain misbehaving dam. She said, no, I'm not in those things. My line in the supply chain for power doesn't go into water. She tackles the power after it has left the water. So please don't challenge her. She has already explained. She has nothing to do with the Simba or Karuma. So spare her. This person is going to chair this session, and she's the vice president of the institute. What a better choice than have the deputy president of the institute chair the deputy governor of the country. Welcome, CPA Josephine Okwi Osia. I hope I've got the order correct. Josephine Okwi Osia. You're welcome to chair this session. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. Hey, people, some energy. Good morning. That sounds much better. So you're all welcome to this first session for the annual seminar. Just a small correction, I'm the CFO of Bujagali Energy Limited, and I know he did that intentionally. But yes. So at this point, we are going to move on with our program, and I would like to just invite our chief guest to come up here. But before he does, I don't know if I'm the right person actually, because he's my boss. He's the chairperson of the board of Bank of Uganda. I'm just a member, so he's actually my boss. So not even colleagues, he's my boss. So please note that. So Dr. Michael Atingiego, as you're all aware, is the Deputy Governor of Bank of Uganda. But before he came to Bank of Uganda, he was the Executive Director of the Macroeconomic and Financial Management Institute of the Eastern and Southern Africa. And before that, he was the Deputy Director of the African Department at the International Monetary Fund. And also prior to that, he was with Bank of Uganda. So he started his career in 1984 with Bank of Uganda. And on 23rd April 2020 is when he got appointed as the Deputy Governor of Bank of Uganda. So I would just like to invite Doctor up here to take your seat. Thank you. We'll then continue. I would also like to invite the President up here. President is someone you all know, so I'm not going to do any introduction. So Mr. Constant Maende, please come and take your seat. CPA, oh, sorry, apologies. CPA Constant Maende, please come and take your seat. And then finally, I would like to invite our CEO, Mr. Derek Nkaja, to come and make his remarks as the CEO of the Institute, Secretary of the Institute. Thank you.
Our dear chief guest, Dr. Michael Atingego, Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, our President, CPA Constant Maende, our keynote speaker, CPA Fabian Kasi, I hope he's around, I have sourced him somewhere. Our dear colleagues and visitors from the Institute of Burundi, the Institute of Kenya, the Institute of Tanzania. I know in Tanzania you call it National Board, but it's Institute. The Institute from Ethiopia, the Institute from Rwanda, the Institute from Somalia. You are all welcome to our 27th annual seminar. Our dear past presidents, there are about 4 of them that are supposed to be here, but as the MC say, the director of ceremony said, represented currently by our 7th president. But the 6th president we talked on phone, he said he's around. I don't see him, but he's there. Yes, the 6th president also is around, Mr. Ben Patrick Agolo. And our dear chief guest, he was also at Bank of Uganda, Mr. Ben Patrick Agolo at one time. Our presidents who are online, we have CPA David Opiokero, CPA George Gadu, I don't know whether he switched, but he was supposed to be physical. CPA Joseph Balidawa is online. CPA Narendra Thaka is also online. We thank you for continuously being here. Members of the Institute, members of Council, members of the Events Management Committee, ladies and gentlemen, you are very welcome. I've tried to lay down the individuals and probably the protocol to redeem time so that the next events we don't take too much of the time. My purpose is to welcome you, and it's an honor and a privilege that as we celebrate 30 years, I stand here before you to welcome you for our 27th annual seminar, and probably the largest gathering since COVID struck. You are very, very welcome because you have not feared. I know many of us, we are still putting on masks. We are still not shaking hands, but you have braved that you will gather as the accountancy profession to celebrate 30 years, but also to learn. So you are very welcome. We don't take it for granted. Thank you so much for accepting to hear our call that it's high time that we come back in our usual routine. Our dear chief guest, I think it's the president who will give you the journey of the Institute, but just to mention one, that at the start of the Institute, we were just 79 professional accountants registered by the end of the roll, but as we speak, we are more than 3,900 and still growing. We believe we can double that number in the next few years. So we are growing as a profession. So members, as we start off this day, I would like to remind you that the annual magazine, the annual seminar magazine has issues that you need to appreciate. It has our history. Let's not forget where we came from, and let us collectively strive to build the profession that serves our economy by starting to serve where you are, diligently and in the true spirit of public interest. Thank you. I will redeem time. Madam Chairperson, should I invite the President? In the interest of redeeming time, I've been given the honor to invite our dear President to address his people. CPA Constant Maene, you're welcome.
Thank you, CEO. And as you mentioned, we'll redeem time by not going into the detailed protocol, but allow me to address our chief guest this morning, Dr. Michael Atingi Ego, the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, and build on from the protocol that has already been established. My colleagues, the council members are here. You've already been introduced, but can you just wave to the people, the council members? Okay. So welcome to the 27th annual seminar of our institute. And this is a special one because, as you all know, we are commemorating 30 years of ICPAU's existence and service to the accountancy profession. Allow me to do first things, and that is to congratulate Dr. Michael Ating Ego upon being awarded the prestigious Central Bank Governor of the Year award recently by the African Banker magazine. We congratulate you, Dr. Hatingi, and may you continue to excel in your role. We are celebrating 30 years, and that means our membership is from 1 day to 30 years. And permit me to recall some of the history over the years. We have a reason to jubilate as we celebrate 30 years, because we've come a long way and the road has had many twists and turns. But being accountants, we are resilient and we've achieved much in the 30 years. Congratulations. As has been hinted by the CEO, we started with 79 accountants, but we are over 3,900 now. In education, we have 3 courses that we run as the Institute. We have the Certified Public Accountants course, the Accounting Technicians Diploma, and the Certified Tax Advisor course. And these are benchmarked against international education standards. And in compliance with those standards, the syllabi for CPA and ATD have been updated thrice, and a 4th update is on the way. That should come pretty fast. I'm happy to report, Chief Guest, that through the Institute's education framework, we've examined and qualified 4,589 accountants, 1,808 accounting technicians, and 67 certified tax advisors. And there is a lot more coming. We are the National Professional Accountancy Organization, and regulation is core to our mandate as the Institute. And through the enactment of the Accountants Act 2013, which was an amendment to the previous statute of 1992, a more solid framework for accountancy regulation was created. And we really thank government for the support in this regard. So the new act that we are running with now provides a framework for licensing of accounting firms, the establishment of the Quality Assurance Board that is currently chaired by one of our past presidents, that is the 6th President, CPA Kagoro, whom you've already been who has already been introduced in this forum. So the Institute also prescribes a code of conduct for professional accountants, and members of the Institute are expected to comply with this code, or else face disciplinary mechanisms. I'm glad to report that the current chair for disciplinary is the Vice President, CPA Josephine, and she's quite tough, eh? Not in a bad way. Yes. So there are currently 270 accounting firms licensed to operate in Uganda. And according to the Act, it is an offense to practice accountancy without a certificate of practice. So we've adopted and we continue to prescribe accounting standards for use in Uganda. And these include the International Financial Reporting Standards, the International Standards on Auditing, the International Public Sector Accounting Standards. And these standards are updated periodically, and the Institute actively participates in this process. Our framework, our regulatory framework, is benchmarked against the statements of membership obligations of the Federation, of the International Federation of Accountants. And there are 7 of them, and they touch the core areas of quality assurance, international education standards, international standards on auditing, the code of ethics for professional accountants, the international public sector accounting standards, investigation and disciplinary, as well as the international financial reporting standards. We have made great strides towards the operationalization of Section 34 of the Accountants Act, which states that all heads of finance, accounts, and internal audit in public and private sector entities with public interest shall be members of the Institute. On this note, Deputy Governor, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Bank of Uganda, which you head, for being at the forefront of ensuring that all the supervised financial institutions comply with this provision of the Act. And indeed, that deserves a hand clap. We continue to work with the other regulators to ensure that this is complied with to the full. Regarding this seminar, which is our 27th, this is the largest event in our calendar as the Institute. And in regard to members continuing professional development, this started in 1995. That's why we are doing the 27th when we are 30 years. So it means we went 3 years without having them. So it is an opportunity for accountants to grow their knowledge and improve on their ability to cope with everyday challenges in relationships, health, mindset, and personal finance, among others. The theme of this seminar, the 27th one, is resilience in a dynamic environment. The world is fast changing and disruptions continue to emerge. But accountants, being strategic business advisors, must remain relevant and steadfast in their role so that they can adequately support their organizations. We shall learn how to cope with the prevailing circumstances. The topics we have will touch on health, marriage, service, mindset, and investments, among others. At this seminar, we have a record 1,782 participants. Some of them are here in person, and a good number are attending virtually. And this is the highest number that the Institute has registered since its inception. And with such numbers, we are confident that the ICPAU annual seminar is one of the largest, if not the largest gathering of professionals in Uganda. It is evident that the desire to learn is great among the accountants, and this is a good thing because learning is a continuous process. Our chief guest, I would like to draw your attention to some developments, recent developments in the profession. The international standards on quality management became effective in December, or will become effective in December 2022. And accounting practitioners are encouraged to attend the monthly quality management workshops organized and promoted by the Institute. Various aspects of the standards are addressed at the workshops and practical insights are shared. Practitioners are also reminded to make necessary adjustments in their internal systems and processes in preparation for full implementation of the standards come December 2022. In July this year, that's last month, the Institute submitted to the International Sustainability Standards Board its comments on the exposure draft, and we shall keep members updated regarding this. The International Financial Reporting Standards on Insurance Contracts, that is IFRS 17, will become effective next year. And the Institute has developed resources and workshops in partnership with the insurance regulator, that is the Insurance Regulatory Authority, and I believe they are represented here. We encourage CPAs in the insurance sector to take advantage of these resources as we prepare for implementation. The 2022 Financial Reporting Awards are due in November this year. This is another big one for the Institute. And organizations will have up to 30th September to submit their annual reports. Prudent financial reporting in compliance with international standards is one of the ways through which organizations demonstrate value to investors, funders, and stakeholders. I would therefore like to encourage all organizations to submit their entries for the 2022 FIRE Awards, as we commonly call this. so that together we can increase the adoption of the global financial reporting standards in Uganda. More so, the Fireworks Committee provides feedback reports which have helped so many organizations to improve their financial reporting. These are in hundreds now. The Accountancy Services Awards. Chief Guest, service is a key duty of accountants, and we hold the public interest in high regard. Therefore, on Friday, 2nd September, that will be our third day of this seminar. As we conclude here at the same venue, we will recognize persons and institutions who have impacted the communities and made outstanding contributions to the advancement of accountancy in Uganda and even beyond over the 30-year period. So I would like to inform you, Deputy Governor, that we would have loved to have you here on Friday to be part of these awards, but we've got feedback that you have an assignment that cannot allow you to come back here. And I will tell you that we will adjust a bit of the rules and give you the award for Bank of Uganda, because we are already aware that Bank of Uganda is an awardee, and shortly after your assignment here, we will be glad to hand over to you since you are already here with us. As I conclude, I would like to thank the people and institutions who have contributed to the Institute's 30-year milestone. Some of them have since departed this world, but we honor them nonetheless. The founding fathers and mothers of our institute, the former presidents, and I'm looking at you, my 7th president, ICPAU Protasio. Thank you so much for those blocks that you built, which we are thriving on now. We thank the staff of the institute, the accountancy trainers, partner organizations, and other stakeholders. We thank you for the dedication to the profession. We are grateful to the government of Uganda that gave the institute seed capital of $1 million that was used during the formative stages, including purchasing plot 42 Bukoto Street that we are all proud to have. How I pray that we can improve that property sooner than later, so that we have the profession, sounding high up there. Fellow CPAs, the commemoration of 30 years is a milestone, but it's not an end in itself. This is just the beginning. Therefore, we must continue to work hard and collectively contribute to the continued growth of our institute and the profession. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to join me in welcoming our chief guest, Dr. Michael Atingi Ego, the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, to deliver his address to us and to officially open the 27th ICPAU annual seminar. Deputy Governor, you are welcome.
All protocol, as earlier mentioned, is observed. So a very good morning to all of you. Allow me first to thank both the President and the CEO of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda for the invitation to officiate at this 27th annual ICPAU seminar. Although I'm told you 30 years, this is the 27th annual ICPAU seminar. The Institute has shared a long-standing and a profound relationship with Bank of Uganda, particularly in the areas of training, capacity building, and advocacy for improved financial reporting across the industry. It therefore gives me great pleasure to speak to all of you this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the call to increase resilience is hardly new. Following the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, the policy arena has featured increasing calls for resilience. Now, though, the chorus has even become almost deafening as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic and the current shocks that are related to the geopolitical conflicts, particularly the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and importantly, the climate change. I therefore applaud the Institute for organizing this seminar under the topical theme, Resilience in a Dynamic Environment, which resonates very well with the current times. In simple terms, resilience is the ability to rebound. Now, in the famous poem by Jean de La Fontaine, titled, quote, "The Oak and the Reed," unquote, it provides a metaphor from nature which gives a clear perspective on resilience. The oak tree is robust, it's mighty, and it looks indestructible in the face of normal and strong winds, but it breaks down when the storm becomes too severe. Once it has fallen, no recovery is possible. By contrast, light breezes bend the reed. But when the strong storm erupts, the reed declares, "I bend, but I do not break." That phrase incorporates the essence of resilience. The reed, always in motion, might look vulnerable, but it bounces back when the storm is over. It's much more resilient than the oak because of its ability to rebound. So, the global COVID-19 pandemic presented us with the first major test of the post-financial crisis reforms to regulatory standards. Here in Uganda, we stress test our banks rigorously for safety and soundness to ensure that they could support the economy through the hard times without breaking, like the oak. Indeed, we tested to make sure that this support could continue through even harder times, and the answer was positive. The resilience built up through the prudent macro-prudential policy over the years following the financial crisis put the financial system in a better position to absorb the shocks from the COVID-19 pandemic. This matters greatly because having a resilient financial system meant that businesses, including lending, could be sustained even during a pandemic. We went further to provide accommodative policy measures to ensure that the financial institutions had access to liquidity, even as they restructured the performing loans that had been badly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. In managing a pandemic, a mix of ex-ante and ex-post policies and instruments ensure that the financial system behaved like the reed tree instead of like the oak tree. Interestingly, experiences have shown that in most of the developing countries, they tend to have more of ex-post policies and instruments in place relative to ex-ante. So in other words, in more developing countries, we just like firefighting rather than fire prevention. The pandemic showed us that it was time to change the thinking, as the shocks ahead will be easier to absorb and manage if the fundamentals are sound before the fact. In fact, we now need to ensure that we are ready for new challenges perhaps by building better for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, they need to be mindful of the environment in our efforts. Increase resilience cannot be overstated. As we all know, climate change is already having a profound effect on our planet, and the extreme domestic weather conditions in the form of floods and droughts over the past few months have heavily impacted the local communities here in Uganda and the nation at large. For example, as a result of the drought, we've seen food crop inflation hit 16.4% in the month of July 2022, from the loss of 0.7% observed in February this year. So in a span of about 6 months, food crop inflation has gone up from 0.7% to 16.4%. Today, UBOS will be releasing the inflation numbers for August. We don't know where the food crop inflation is going to be. So inevitably, transitioning to an environmentally sustainable low carbon economy will have significant implications for the financial system. As a central bank, we have increased our own focus in this area within our newly launched 5-year strategic plan, particularly in relation to financing of a sustainable economy. We shall be working with financial institutions to promote ESG standards in our financial sector to positively impact on long-term sustainability in the value chains of our economic sectors. By incorporating these sustainability issues, the bottom line of the financial institutions will reflect the creation of shareholder value beyond profitability. So the question is, how much more can the governance structures of the financial institutions move away from the interest of the shareholders, value creation, to value creation of the communities and society? So as a matter of fact, I was ecstatic to read the Institute feedback report from the 2021 Financial Reporting Awards, which strongly recommended sustainability reporting at the central bank. I also understand that the Global Accountants Fraternity has already put up this agenda at the forefront with the formation of the International Sustainability Standards Board to spearhead the development reporting standards for incorporation into the accounting regulatory framework. The accountant will therefore have a very key role to play here, not only at the central, but also across all financial institutions, public sector entities, and other businesses. So in promoting ESG aspects into the financial sector activities, the concept of governance also comes to the fore. The promotion of good governance practices is not only important at the private sector level, but is also critical at the public sector level as it promotes economic resilience. Research has shown that accountable public authorities who pursue just distribution of benefits to enhance adaptive capacity of vulnerable groups and societies. The auditors and accountants have a critical role to play in uplifting good governance practices. This is through, among others, ensuring that boards and their committees are well constituted and are operational with robust risk management frameworks and business continuity plans in place. The role of auditors and accountants should, in fact, go beyond this. They need to get more involved in validating business risks, assumptions, and models, testing robustness, and ensuring that they are frequently recalibrated. Additionally, they need to be more involved in the preparation and review of all the business continuity plans. Consequently, with strong oversight of governance in place, resilience of the nation, its businesses, and people against unforeseen shocks will be augmented. The other key message in our theme today touches on the dynamic environment that we live in today, which is being powered by technological innovations. Financial technology, known as fintech, is reshaping financial services in Africa through providing us with the infinite possibilities to achieve shared and inclusive growth. We have all witnessed the transformation that mobile-based payments have had in the region. First, it was with the Kenya, with the M-Pesa, and now, of course, we are seeing what it's doing in Uganda with what we call the mobile money. Our role as industry leaders and professionals is to make sure that the possibilities that come with fintechs continue to be explored and effected. That fintech firms provide products that are solving actual problems, that the services are priced fairly, and that consumers are protected. An SCCA survey, global survey, released in May 2022, showed that Africa has a major role to play in fintech, and that it was a region that placed the most trust in fintech products relative to traditional financial services. Ironically, it also showed that Africa was the most concerned region about consumer protection and cybersecurity risks. The survey therefore brought out the need to prioritize data management and cybersecurity at the heart of the frameworks of government and regulatory approval of digital products and services offered by the private sector. For the private sector, this implies investment in infrastructure, staff capacity, and customer education to show up the defenses against this emerging threat. Without such investment, we risk losing this high confidence and trust placed in fintech products in Africa. As a central bank, adapting to this changing financial and risk landscape will remain a priority over the next 5 years. Our interest will be on policy development to enable safe, long-term value from fintechs in a way that places financial inclusion at the core. The benefits of innovation must be shared across the population, particularly with the disadvantaged. Initiatives on internal capacity development, supervision of disruptive technologies, especially in our payments ecosystem, enhancing consumer protection, promoting data-driven decision-making, and uplifting innovation through innovation hubs and regulatory sandboxes will be critical. Like most central banks around the world and in Africa, the concept of digital currency shall also be acutely studied with input from industry and experts and other stakeholders. Now, I see a critical role for you, accountants, in maturing of the fintechs. As the scale and significance of this field increases, there is need for robust financial management and reliable, independent assurance of information to drive trust in this field. These are relatively the early stages, and the opportunity is there for accounting community to be part of shaping this evolving event. I also understand that the International Federation of Accountants, who we shall be hearing from later on in this seminar, this seminar, has put in place considerable resources to support member organizations to make the most out of technology. I thank them for these progressive efforts and encourage our institute to leverage on such resources to be in a better position to navigate the dynamic environment we find ourselves in, particularly with the growth of fintechs. Ladies and gentlemen, although COVID-19 pandemic and current geopolitical conflicts have generated a dizzying series of harsh political, social, and economic fasts, such shocks will not be the last. These shocks have had a significant influence in reshaping the way we work through remote working, the way we meet, virtual meetings such as this one here is a hybrid, and the way we transact through the e-payments. While we cannot anticipate every type of shock, we can adjust and continue to build resilience to enable us bounce back. Benjamin Franklin said that, quote, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail, unquote. Resilience is what prevented the financial system from failing during the pandemic, and is what is keeping the system afloat in the current challenging economic environment. We need to continue working together as industry leaders and as professionals to build both financial and economic resilience for sustainable growth that ensures socio-economic transformation. As I wrap up my remarks, allow me quote from the Bible. The book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 16, says, quote, "For though the righteous shall fall 7 times, they shall rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes," unquote. Colleagues, let us prepare well and reflect the ways of the righteous and not the wicked. In doing so, let us be mindful of the following verses in the same chapter. Proverbs 24, verses 17 to 18. Quote, "Rejoice not when thine enemy falls, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbles. Lest the Lord see it and displease him, and he turn away from his wrath from him." Unquote. So as accountants, let us do all it takes to help others from rising in their falls and their stumbles. On that note, and without further ado, it's my honor and privilege to officially open the 27th Annual ICPAU Seminar under the theme, Resilience in a Dynamic Environment. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm wishing you all fruitful deliberation. God bless all of you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Michael Atingiego. Another round of applause, please, for him. And there you are, you have it. I think the key takeaway for us is working together is what will sustain the resilience. So let's all, in all our different walks of life, I think it's very important for us to always work together so that we can survive any other shocks that will come to us. So thank you. So definitely, hello? Okay. So unfortunately, he has to leave us, but at this point, I would like to, first of all, thank you very much for making time to come and attend this seminar. And as the Director of Ceremony has indicated, he's very busy. He's a very busy person, and we thank you for your commitment to supporting the Institute. I would also then like to hand over a small token of appreciation from the Institute before you leave. So if Director of Ceremonies can bring. It is of very little value, but of great significance. So this is from the Institute to you, and as you go around your business in all those international conferences, you should carry this bag and remember that the Institute. Now that you're here, you have to help advertisers. And there is something inside there that I know you like to carry, so it will become of very good use to you. Thank you. We also have an umbrella for you. As you know, it's raining, and as you're out there at your farm, it will be of very good use.
Thank you very much.
So I hand back to you.
Okay, but I just wanted to whisper to you that please invite all the presidents of the Institute in the house, plus the first auditor of the Institute who certified that all the interventions from Bank of Uganda actually reached and were properly used. All the presidents here, Bank of Uganda has walked the journey with you. So please come and join your fellow president to recognize Bank of Uganda.
So we are going to have a photo moment here at the front. So if you could please come up quickly.
Okay. We have to do this first. As I mentioned earlier, this year, because we've made 30, we as an institute have created 5 special award categories that will include a long-term institutional partner award. So the citation goes, the long-term institutional partner award recognizes partner institutions that have made outstanding contributions to the success of the accountancy profession in Uganda. The recipient of this award supported the institute during its formative years and has continued to provide this support to date. The institution has supported professionalism in accountancy by ensuring that the finance, accounting, and auditing roles in the organization are held by professional accountants in line with the Accountants Act 2013. Has provided sponsorships to ICPAU events for the past 15 years. Supports and encourages staff to participate in ICPAU activities and events. Supports staff who are members to pay subscription fees. Has steered the banking sector in line with emerging trends. And I can confirm this because of my own other roots in the banking sector. For its support and commitment to the accountancy profession over the years, it's our pleasure, and I don't know why my elders, the past presidents, have gone back, but I would like to say it is our pleasure with the past presidents as they come, and I hope the plaque, the award, okay? It's our pleasure to present this award to Bank of Uganda. Thank you very much. So, presidents, please come and we give this award to the Deputy Governor since we have him here.
So as the Deputy Governor leaves, I would then like to invite our next speaker, someone who's known to all of us. He's the Managing Director of Centenary Bank, also known as Our Bank. He sits on a number of boards. He has also worked in Bank of Uganda. Previously in the supervision function, he's worked with Finca, he's worked with the Commercial Bank of Rwanda, and he used to be my lecturer. Yes, and he holds a master's from Australia. So Mr. Fabian Kasi, you're welcome.
Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Fellow accountants, our guest of honor has left, but I want to greet you this morning and also to bring you gratitude from my employer, the Centenary Bank, our bank, for your support to that institution over the years that it has been serving this country. I want to thank the leadership of the for inviting me. I don't know whether they are projecting presentation. Is it being projected or it is? Okay. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you very much. I want first of all to thank the Institute for inviting me this morning to share views, my thoughts and perspectives on how to remain resilient in a dynamic environment. My presentation, and by the way, today the Institute is celebrating 30 years. I'm also celebrating 30 years of working, of being employed. So it was a good coincidence for me to be here and share my views regarding resilience in a dynamic environment. That is going to be the outline of the presentation, basically to share the recent developments, both globally, regionally, and locally, the various economies, much of which we've already, listened to from our guest of honor. I'll also be trying to touch on the implications of the businesses that we manage. And of course, as accountants, we are leaders, we are business managers, and ensuring that these businesses are resilient amidst all sorts of changes is a key interest for us. Again, talking about the levels of uncertainty that have ensued of late, possibly even in the past, but it has been exacerbated recently because of the many developments that we are all aware of. Basically also trying to see what resilience is in a changing environment, and again to discuss and share ideas as to how we need to ensure that our businesses continue to be resilient. And I'll finally share a story of my employer, of how we've tried to ensure that that business continues to be resilient and serve within its mandate as per the mission set out by the owners, the various stakeholders. Recent developments in the economy, we know, and lately especially, we acknowledge that the world is experiencing rapid changes which are emanating from such developments as the COVID-19 pandemic. We are all aware of the war that is going on and the resultant disruptions in the trade value chains. When we know, when somewhere along the value chain, there is a bottleneck and things don't move as expected, it becomes an effect to the entire ecosystem, which has come to affect and cause a lot of disruptions and changes. We've also heard about the drought situation that has been obtaining, especially back home in this country, which has led to supply of food items being low, and therefore also fueling inflation, which we all know that has been going on. The guest speaker talked about the global warming, deterioration in the environment, how we've been managing it and so on. All these things have connived, they've combined to create an environment which is dynamic, which is changing every after the other day, to an extent that making decisions, getting to know what to do, getting to plan, has become difficult. Of course, in economics, we like the exchange rates, how they've moved, we know how inflation has been moving to an extent that various growth rates have been revised downwards. In the year 2020, they underwent the pandemic of COVID-19, and as you remember, early this year, solved all those geopolitical tensions and also disrupting supply chain, as we've already shared. And this led to the various regulators in the economy to design and change and, reconfigure policies, monetary policies, that supply of money in the economy, and of course the physical policies, the taxation, the spending of money in the public by government. All those have seen changes to try to address, all those disruptions. According to Bank of Uganda, by the end of July 2022, Uganda economic growth rates for this year 2022 has subsequently been revised downwards to between 2 to 3%, as opposed to the 5-6% that had been anticipated. Headline inflation rose further to close to 8% from the 6.8% we had in June, of course attributed to the various factors that we've shared. We've seen costs of various items, essential in life, energy items, food items also going up. Again, all that fueling disruption and uncertainty in the economy, in the environment where businesses operate. The central bank raised the central bank rate to 9%, having risen from 6% in a space of a few months, again as a way of trying to address the inflation pressures. And of course, we've seen how the shilling exchange rate has been evolving. The implication of the above development is that interest rates are expected to continue. So as we undergo this, we know that we are yet to be out of the woods, and a lot of disruptions are likely to ensue. And the demand pressures from importers against weak export receipts and inflows are likely to keep the shilling weak. In other words, things, as they say, if you are boiling water, it will boil, overflow before it comes back to cool down. The expectation is that global financial conditions will also be constrained further. Most advanced economy central banks have raised interest rates. We've heard about this, and with plans to tighten further, and the arising risks of possibilities of recession, rising credit default swaps, and portfolio outflows, which will lead to increased shilling depreciation pressures. All these things, as accountants, I'm sure we know and we've been reading about them, and they continue to affect the environment in which businesses operate. We also note that even before the recent developments, the world has been changing. For example, some time back, Deloitte and Touche released a detailed analysis of global economic trends, and the report outlined the 9 key trends which fell in 3 categories. The first one being the emergence of a large, new, and unfamiliar consuming class. increased opportunities for collaboration, it has already been talked about, with the newly empowered and influential actors. As we talk, as we operate, various actors usually emerge. You heard about the fintechs, the financial technology companies that have come about to disrupt businesses from the way I sit in banking, and all these are things that we need to contend with. Increased opportunities for collaboration with the newly empowered and influential actors, yes, I've talked about that, as well as new sources and imperatives of leadership. It all comes back to leadership. And as accountants, we need to know how do we how can I make this move? Disruptions. Okay. It takes time to move. Okay. You know, this basically you can see, you know, the floods when it rains. You don't know whether your office will be opened if you are trading from downtown. All those are things. And as we manage businesses, how do we ensure that we are able to manage and you know, adapt to such, you know, changing environment? I've already talked about this. You know, what are the implications to business? I was reading an article, you know, these quarterly articles by McKinsey, which considers the changes in the area of technology and connectivity, emerging market growth and aging population, which will require a lot of transformation of the way businesses operate. So we already knew that we have to transform to ensure that we take into account those changes. The authors took the view that the changes would be so significant that much of the management intuition that has served us in the past would become irrelevant. So as they say, what could have brought us here may not be able to take us to another level. And as leaders, that is a realization that we need to make, and especially when we have a changing environment. In another publication by PricewaterhouseCoopers, there were 5 mega trends which were considered. One of them was a shift in global economic power and technological breakthroughs. The report suggested that boards, you know, board of governors should engage with outside parties to help shape their perspectives on where the world is going relative to their businesses. So it means all the way from the boardroom to management to staff, there are a lot of things that need to be thought of to be able to take account of the changing environment. Traditional approaches to strategy assure that the world is relatively stable, the books that we've been reading, and predictable. That was always the assumption. But globalization, new technologies, and greater transparency have combined to change the business environment, which has given CEOs, captains of institutions, a deep sense of unease. So there is a deep sense of unease because of the many things that are changing. This brings us, and I know we all know, you know, what they call the virtual world. You know, something that points to uncertainty, you know, volatile, complex, ambiguous situation. Businesses now must be able to operate in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. This calls for constant review of visions and continuous enhancement of understandability, clarity, and agility of enterprises. It requires the knowledge and ability to create a vision that makes sense of a world that is truly global. We are in a global world, but at the same time, we need to consider all the things, all the happenings to ensure that our businesses continue to be sustainable amidst all the changes. Given the new level of uncertainty, many questions are being asked. Many questions are being asked. First, how can we apply the traditional forecasting and analysis that underpin strategic planning when the environment is so unpredictable? You know, these become the questions that usually linger in the minds of the leaders, business leaders. How can our managers pick the right signals to understand and harness change? It is important that we are always on the mark to ensure that all the signals, they will come in different forms. Nobody knew that COVID was coming. Probably, if we knew, if leaders knew, maybe they would have prepared in a different manner, but nobody knew. But, it just happened, and all these are signals. So how do we ensure that all these signals are picked, and therefore we plan to address them? When change is so rapid, how can 1 or 5-year planning cycle stay relevant? We know traditionally, we've been planning 1 year, probably 5-year rolling plans or static plans. It means that all these now need to be revisited. The answers in the second order organizational capabilities, the answers to these questions should be in the second order organizational capabilities that foster rapid adaptation. And instead of being really good at doing some particular thing, companies must be really good at learning how to do new things. Can we focus on not the best that we can do now, but focusing on how can we quickly learn to do new things? Because things will always be new. And if there is something that we need to always ask ourselves is, have we created the capacity, the capability to learn, to address the ever-changing things that impinge on our operations as businesses? So that brings me to try to understand what is resilience. What do we mean by being resilient in an uncertain environment? Somebody down there, Greenberg, defined resilience as an umbrella term referring to a dynamic process wherein individuals display positive adaptation in the face of obstacles and adversity. In the face of obstacles and adversity. When you look at that picture, you see, people whose life is uncertain, but somehow life has to go on. They have to adapt. And the question is, how do we ensure that we are in a mood to adapt to that situation that is ever changing? Resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, like family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. And as you can see in that picture, how do we ensure that we are adapting to ensure that that stone doesn't fall on us? That becomes the question. And to be able to do that, there's quite a bit that we need to be paying attention to. A dynamic environment is characterized by the uncertainty of the environment that limits the ability of managers to make decisions. And as managers, our role is to make decisions. But when you are having things that are happening very fast, with little or no information, how do we ensure that we are in a position to make adequate decisions to be able to sustain businesses amidst a situation like that you can see in that picture, where houses are down, floods all over the place, people need to eat, life has to be sustained. But how do we sustain it? Dynamic environment means there is always change happening in the surroundings. Again, as we can see from that picture, quite a lot is happening, but life has to go on. So capacity to recover quickly from difficulties is something that we need to develop as business leaders. So I just wanted to look at, this is not exhaustive, but these are the perspectives that I got with regard to how to be resilient in a dynamic environment. And there are basically 5 of them that I want us, to share. The very first one is the ability to read and act on signals of change. So we need to ask ourselves, do we have the ability to read? Because at any one time, things are changing. Today it is raining, tomorrow it is sunshine, no food. floods and things of that nature that we've looked at. How do we ensure that our teams have the ability to read and act on signals of change? Those that thrive are quick to read and act on signals of change. We need to understand that. It is no longer size that matter, but rather the speed to innovate. To adapt to new environment. You would say that when COVID came, those institutions that were big, who had big scale, they would quickly survive. But it wasn't the case. It required something else, ability to learn new things that I've already talked about. If the experience curve and scale curve were the key indicators of success and resilience, institutions like Nokia fail to lead. By now, they probably would be the ones leading the smartphone market. But it was the challenge caused by an adaptive ecosystem. An adaptive ecosystem that ensured that for them, they were thinking very fast, they were making decisions, they were able to know the trends, and they read the signals, and therefore became the leaders in the smartphone market. And despite the fact that Nokia was too big to fail, as they would always say. Some institutions, sometimes you may say it is too big to fail, yet maybe it becomes too big to sail. And that is what happened to institutions like Nokia. The second thing that we need to pay attention to is the ability to experiment rapidly, frequently, and economically, not only with the products and services, but with the business models and strategies. So there is no need to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. We need to be flexible, ready to change even business models to be able to address changes that may be happening in the environment. Companies must have worked out how to experiment rapidly, frequently, and economically, not only with the products and services, but also with the business models, processes, and strategies. And that was very evident during COVID. People changed, the institutions changed the way they were doing things. And those which were able to do it quickly, they took the day, they survived, and they sustained their business. The third thing is the ability to manage complex multi-company systems and multi-stakeholders. Companies must have built up skills in managing complex multi-stakeholder systems in an increasingly interconnected world. We talk about the global village in which we operate, interconnection, connectivity, across the world, the globe, and as a business, however small we may be, you are working amidst that environment, and therefore we ought to have created capacity to be able to manage that complexity. Again, talking about Nokia, was attacked by Apple's adaptive systems of suppliers, telecom partnerships, numerous independent application developers, the fintechs that we always talk about, which were created to support the iPhone, which now leads the smartphone market. The ability to bring together the assets and capabilities of so many entities allowed these smartphones entrants to leapfrog the experience and the scale curve and became new market leaders in a record time. And we need to be reading and taking that message as we also manage our businesses. The fourth aspect, which we probably need also to pay attention to, is the ability to unlock resources, especially people. How can we make people do many different things? How can we motivate them? How can we engage them? How can we give them the ability to innovate? I think the greatest resource or asset any institution has is the people that they use to deliver services. So that ability to unlock such resources becomes very critical. And again, if you look back at what happened, it was very evident during the COVID-19 experience. And the third aspect is the ability to mobilize and make quick decisions. A flexible structure and the dispersal of decision rights are powerful levers for increasing adaptability. Adaptive companies have replaced permanent silos and functions with modular units that freely communicate and recombine according to the situation at hand. How can we ensure that we are agile, we are able to, to reconfigure ourselves very, very quickly and be able to make decisions that are geared towards addressing any emerging risks, any changes in the environment, to ensure that our businesses continue to operate. And I can say that the three key factors of resilience, as we've seen, are adaptability, capability, and the will to succeed. Basically, those three things: the adaptability, capability, and we must have the will to succeed. And at this juncture, I just want to share, some of the things that my company did during that time, that trying time moment. Of course, you had how the regulator also supported, but also issued the guidelines, directives to change a few things, to ensure that the banks continue to operate. So we also, as banks, as one of the players in the economy, had to conform to those, but at the same time doing a number of things to ensure that businesses continue to operate. Of course, during that year, that is the time that the bank made a record profit of 211 billion, and everybody wondered how that happened. But of course, to us as an institution, those profits are not the most important thing. For sustainability, the most important thing is to ensure that the people that we deal with, that we serve, are supported to also survive. And that's why we go into corporate social investment, giving back to community, training people, making them know how to deal with banks and so on. Because if you run short of that, you may be making money today, tomorrow you may not make it because your clientele base is not empowered. So social transformation of the clientele base that we deal with became very, very critical. So what are the things that we did to try to ensure that we are sustainable? One of them was frugality, being able to spend where it is necessary, and that becomes critical for all our businesses, and I'm sure many institutions did that. We have to change also the mode of operation. You talked about using processes, strategies, had to have some staff work from home, in remote working systems, so that as people work from wherever they are, as an institution, we are able to track what they are doing and ensure productivity. Communication became very critical, communicating with amongst the teams. You remember unlocking the resources and the people that we had, but communication became very critical, whereby almost every day, not every day actually, every morning and afternoon, we were always issuing communication to the people, the staff. We have over 80 branches with over 3,000 staff. Being able to communicate to all of them and being able to move together with the, knowing what they must be doing, meanwhile working from wherever they are, it was a big challenge. Alignment of business model to the new COVID-19 guidelines and directives, we've already shared that, and it had to be done. Showing care and giving back to society, the thing I talked about. As businesses, we always don't have to look at what the shareholders are getting, but at the end of the day, the people who make that institution sustainable, and these are the customers, how did we ensure that they are supported amidst that environment? Give the people who had loans where businesses had shut down, but at the same time they were supposed to pay, issues of grace periods, moratorium, saying that now we can suspend interest and you will get back to you when the business is up on its feet, and we see how we can reschedule the loans. Those were some of the things that we focused on to ensure that we support our clientele. And reviewing of products and services, reducing prices for some of the products, adoption of technology and digitization. This is the time when we had to design new digital products. You can now open your account digitally wherever you are without necessarily coming to our office. You can now make payments or wherever to whoever at any time of your convenience, whether at night, as long as you have your mobile phone. Those were all the new innovations that had to be thought of as a way of trying to, first of all, support our customers, but also ensuring that the business continues to operate. And finally, the issue of collaboration and partnerships. I think it has already been talked about. This is when we realize that even with your competitors, you had to collaborate with them to ensure that the ecosystem continues to operate. And in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, this is just building relationships, planning. We had to do planning on a regular basis. As I said, every day we had 2 meetings, in the morning, in the afternoon, keep pulling in whatever developments have come through and see how they can inform our new plans of the following day. And of course, embracing change and not to fear it. So in conclusion, we are witnessing an ever-changing environment. We've talked about the future world, and managers must have the ability to read the signals of change, to experiment, manage complex multi-company systems, and most importantly, they must have learned to unlock their greatest resources. They must be able to mobilize and make quick decisions. As we saw, size no longer matters, but it is survival for the quickest. It is the speed that matters. Businesses must possess capability, adaptability, and the will to succeed. I thank you very much. Okay.
So thank you very much. Another round of applause. And as usual, our CEO does not disappoint, the CEO of our bank. So thank you for the time you've taken. So we have a few minutes left and a few questions. So for our members online, I think you're aware of the Slido option. Your questions on Slido, and even the members present here. So we will check just a few questions. So who are the ones? Who's holding the microphones? You have one there, okay. So I will take 4 questions at a go, okay. So there's one question here.
Thank you, the Vice President of the Council. Mr. Henry, those are my names. Risk Management and Internal Consultant. Our keynote speaker, thank you for that nice lecture or presentation. You have really gone through the resilience, but as the financial industry, we are seeing blockchain coming to penetrate the sector. And yesterday, the leader of opposition in Parliament asked the Attorney General, how are they prepared to regulate the blockchain technology? So as the financial industry, how are you prepared to adopt to the competitor of the blockchain technology? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ambrose, there's another question at the back on the same section at the back. Okay.
Specifically mentioned that ability to unlock resources, especially people. Now I'm wondering, during that period, the resources or the skills which were needed, most of our work manpower never had it. Even at office, you may find a challenge, people to use basic computer IT skills like Zoom and the rest. Now, how will you unlock resources of people who are at a distance, but they don't have even the money to facilitate them, and then yet you have to clearly specify them. Then the second one, you talked about the bank having made a lot of profit. That's around 211 billion. But at the same bank, the regulator clearly said, don't issue dividends. And that was the point whereby we needed the critical financial resources to boost the economy. But it was working in the opposite trend. To me, I feel that even if those factors were put into consideration, but there was no willing heart for the authorities or regulators to help people to overcome the challenge. I submit.
Thank you. If there are no any other questions, I think we'll take, okay, there's just one more.
Thank you, CPA Fabian Kasi. My name is Geoffrey Kawagambe, and I liked much spoke about the. I would just like you to expose more about how you can attract the competition. Both times like we experience, because anytime the competition doesn't want to know or doesn't want such circumstances because they think they can have their own way out. So I just wanted you to share how you were able to bring those competitors on a table so that you were able to chart a way forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What's happening to the rest of the room? All the questions are on this section. And finally, one question here at the front.
Thank you very much. My name is Lasiat Blade from Bishop Sweat University. There is something which I feel I should know because I see some telecommunication companies giving some loans to some extent. So I don't know maybe to how much they're allowed to give, or maybe as banks, if you think that you are threatened by the telecommunication companies starting to giving some loans. Thank you.
So thank you. We'll take those for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for your questions. The first one was to do with the blockchain technology. How do financial institutions intend to adapt to that technology? Well, technology has been evolving over time. If you asked me when I just started working, there were no ATMs. Mobile banking wasn't available, but now it is the order of the day as far as service delivery and usage of channels of distribution by banks is concerned. So even with the emergence of the blockchain technology, of course, banks are studying it. They should be able to adapt to it. But of course, remember, when you, especially banks, I think the banking industry is the most heavily regulated industry. And whatever new things that are supposed to be taken on, they have to be clearly understood. They have to be analyzed. We need to look at the risks involved and so on. And of course, it has to be with the concurrence of the central bank, which regulates these operations. Otherwise, banks are investing in technology. They are investing in capabilities to learn new things as they emerge. They've also understood that they have to be resilient. And in a case, no economy would want to see a collapsing bank. Every time there is a collapsing bank, it is very dangerous and disastrous for the economy. So we should always be supporting banks to sustain themselves so that our economies can continue to grow. So technology, one of the drivers of business, and banks are usually eager to try to adapt to those changes. Ability to unlock resources. One of my friends, colleagues, talked about that time when people were working away, they were not available in office, teaching them how to use Zoom, teaching them how to use the various means of communication. To some of them was a challenge, which was also a lesson that unlocking resources doesn't mean you do it when the problem has arrived. It has to be an ongoing process. Enhancing capacities of our staff, training them doing new things is not something you want to do at the time when you are facing a problem. It is something we need to invest into, and shouldn't be an event, but rather a process. So at that time, those people had been trained to use technology. They had no problem, or to quickly learn, even if they hadn't been using Zoom. You saw how so many people quickly adapted and took on the usage of Zoom. So as a business, again, a lesson that we need to invest, and we need to, anticipate. We talked about reading signals of change and so on. So when we anticipate, we are now able to know what to train our people into, or how to make them ready to be able to face all those things that are likely to happen. Banks making money but not issuing dividends. Yes, in the wisdom of the regulator, they felt that at that time it was most important to ensure that the capital base of the banks is kept as strong as possible, and therefore, if they were allowed to quickly issue and give dividends, it had the tendency of depleting their capital base. Yet it was the time to ensure that banks are resilient, and having enough capital is usually, something that talks to the resilience of banks. So in the view of the central bank, they felt we needed to postpone the giving of dividends, and everybody appreciated. Now it has been opened up. Those who invest in banks, I'm sure you've received your dividends. But also, the other element was to do with managing the exchange rate. Because as you know, we have so many foreign banks here. When they were to issue dividends, they would be buying foreign currency to give to their shareholders abroad. And they would have the tendency of affecting the foreign exchange rate of the shilling. And in order to manage it at that trying moment, the central bank again felt it right not to issue dividends. Those were some of the reasons to do that. Geoffrey Kabagambe, thank you very much for your question about collaboration, even with the competitors. At that time, that's when we knew that, and everybody understood that you can compete, but you should be able to collaborate. You can compete, but collaboration as an industry was very important, and everybody understood it, because that was the time to speak as one industry. For example, when we were getting these passes, you remember those things they used to issue to staff. We had to go there as an industry to say, banking is an essential service. What do we call them? What? Essential workers. They were essential workers, and therefore they had to be allowed, to move freely where possible, to be able to serve customers. This was the time to collaborate with even telecos, because now we are encouraging people to use mobile money, pull their money from the bank accounts, transform it into mobile money, and be able to make payments without necessarily moving to look for an ATM, or to look for an agent, or to look for somebody who would give them cash. So there was that collaboration. And of course, that brings me to the last question about telecos which are giving loans. Yes, they can give loans. It is not a threat to banks. All the banks need to do is to see how to collaborate with these telecos to be able, because the ultimate goal is to deliver services to the customers. The ultimate goal is financial inclusion. If we can do it through telecos, I think the industry will have achieved its objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one more question. If you could answer the second question, what is resilience when banks make huge profits, when the customers are choking on high borrowing rates? When will banks reduce the borrowing rates?
No, thank you very much. I thought the question on interest rate was not going to come. It is always a topical issue. Yeah, interest rates is a topical, the discussion of interest rates is a topical issue. Banks do realize that they need to price their services appropriately and in an affordable manner in order to enable their customers to access those services. But at the same time, they need to balance between the risk involved. For example, if it is giving loans, there is a risk that has to be managed, and that risk speaks to the price, to the interest rate that is charged by the banks. In this country or in this economy, for example, we still have high default rates. And if we still have high default rates, it means the risk is still high, and it means that the price that the banks have to charge for their loans, that is the interest rate, has to be at equal measure. Until now, we have the Credit Reference Bureau, for example, which are going to help at least to create discipline amongst the people, the borrowers, to be able to know that if I borrow, I have to pay back in a good time, so that money, because the money that the banks lend is not their money. It is money for you. It is money for the depositors, money that you keep on those accounts. There is no way you want to come to a bank to ask for your money, and then we tell you that somebody somewhere hasn't paid, or he ran away, or he defaulted. That's why we need to ensure that we price appropriately. Otherwise, it is in the full interest of banks as an industry to ensure that interests are as low as possible. And indeed, as you've seen of late, interests have been coming down until recently when inflation started going up, and we've seen the prime interest rates also going up, following the central bank also raising the central bank rate, again as a signal, of managing the many things that the central bank manages as far as the monetary policy mandate is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabian. And with this, I just want to thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for always supporting the Institute. I'll therefore hand over a small token of appreciation to you.
Thank you.
So as is our culture usually, we'll present you with a certificate, and since you're an accountant, you'll also earn CPD hours. This is a certificate of merit to you from the Institute. Thank you very much. And we'll also hand over small goodies. They have low value, so no need to declare, but thank you very much, and we always look forward to working with you. Another round of applause for me. And then finally, the traditional umbrella. And now it's rainy season. I think for now we'll displace the one from our bank. We'll use this one. Thank you. Can I hand back to my Director of Ceremonies?
Thank you. Actually, you have no choice. I would have grabbed it from you. A round of applause to our Vice President for the opening session. But the energy levels this morning are so low. Even clapping, you can't clap. That's better. Allow me to recognize other big people attending this 27th annual seminar. By the time we read out names, we skipped some. The first president of the Institute is in the house. There are other presidents. The current president recognized is President Kagoro, but when we are reading out the names of the President Ben Patrick Kagoro, he is in the house. And believe you me, I've struggled to move him from that back seat. He has refused. In downtown, they say, "Owa Zakachi." President Kagoro, "Gee, why can't you take up your rightful seat, sir?" We have other presidents attending. President CPA Joseph Balidawa and CPA Narendra Ambara Thaka is also in attendance. Council members attending include CPA Patrick. I did that deliberately too, so to annoy you. We like annoying each other. CPA Ronald Mutumba, CPA Geoffrey Amisa, CPA Stephen Inegate, CPA Tohaise Wakoba, CPA Professor Rora Robia, CPA Ojambo, and Engineer Uwangizi Jackson. You are most welcome, our leaders, including past leaders. In Uganda, past leaders, but in ICPAU, past leaders are very highly regarded people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here if those past leaders had not existed. Now, some freebies, you know, this institute of ours is generous. There's a free medical camp, as usual, but with an addition. The services provided include medical checkups and first aid services covering the following: diabetics, screening, blood pressure, blood sugar testing, breast and cervical cancer screening, and now that one. I'm still struggling to pronounce hepatitis. Hepatitis. I think you get it. You got it. HIV testing and counseling. Now this is maybe a new one on me. RDT, malaria. Then RTR, syphilis. There's also counseling. On this one, I think that is concern Vice President Egado. There's counseling on family planning. Other medical activities going on include there is Nakasero Blood Bank is around, and they are encouraging accountants to participate in blood donation. Please go and donate blood, because these people are in the habit of announcing we are with the accountants. We don't want to give 5 pints, yes. They call them units. So please go donate, and I'm not sure there are doctors around. If you donate today, can you go even tomorrow? Those of you who have blood, please, clean blood, please go and make donations. Now, another one, the medical area, Mengo Hospital has come, is around to save us from these people and these people. There's free eye screening. Please go, the medical camp is it's called the gatehouse. When you leave this hall, the last house inside the fence on your right. When you are entering, it's the first house on your left. Now, I've been advised by the people at the registration desk that some participants who are not resident, they just walk into the hall without swiping their cards. If you do that, you lose your CPD hours. Well, everybody has to sign in so that your CPD hours are given to you. Now, the next one is going to be the because I think the energy levels for clapping could have been affected by the amount of food you did not take. Now there is time to compensate. It's time to compensate for whatever you missed for breakfast. The tea is ready. It's available in the garden. As you go for the tea, the following group of people, for this is a must. The keynote speaker, the president, and the first president. There's a press time in the hotel lobby. Please go and even CEO, he thought he had escaped. CEO, please go to the lobby, escort the president, go with the president and do the press conference. All the others, besides those people I have not named, but included in this category, all the leaders of delegations from the sister institutes, please join these people going for the press conference and the past president here for a photo moment. After that, the press people will go to the lobby to do the press conferences. Now you are at liberty to go for tea at this time, but you are not at liberty to come in after 11. You go and you must come in, otherwise you will ring bells in your ears so loudly that you need another mentor. So you are awake, 11:30, come back at 11:30. Thank you, see you at 11:30. People for the photo moment, please come. Because we shall not make a special allowance for you to come after 11:30. Presidents, leaders of delegations from Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Somalia, for the Rwanda, please come here and have a photo, your photos taken. Leaders of those delegations, you can come with those people from in your delegation you think deserve to be taken a photo with you.
The more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money. Most of us don't know what this means. We often find ourselves struggling with questions like, how can I save? Where should I invest my money? How can I budget to meet my needs with the money I earn? What can I do about my recurring debt? Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And with the NSSF Financial Wellness Program, you get the best financial literacy to get you on the path to financial freedom. Become better at income diversification, debt management, saving, investment, and much more. Apply for the free NSSF Financial Wellness Program. Visit www.nssfug.org/financial literacy or dial *254# or call 0800-286-773 toll free for details.
NSSF, a better life.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification number, mobile phone or an alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312 206 400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
We protect your money.
The more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money. Most of us don't know what this means. We often find ourselves burdened with questions like, how can I save? Where should I invest my money? How can I budget to meet my needs with the money I earn? What can I do about my recurring debt? Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And with the NSSF Financial Wellness Program, you get the best financial literacy to get you on the path to financial freedom. Become better at income diversification, debt management, saving, investment, and much more. Apply for the free NSSF Financial Wellness Program. Visit www.nssfug.org/financial literacy or dial *254# or call 0800-286-773 toll free for details.
NSSF, a better life.
Welcome from your break, ladies and gentlemen. We have We have eaten almost 10 minutes into our next session. Please let us start the session and try to recover the time that we've used elsewhere. One or two quick announcements. We have people we are working with. I'm going to be forced to shout at you so that the dean goes down. Now that's better. We have partners who are located in the smaller tent outside. They are exhibitors. Some of these are people who have joined hands with us to deliver this event. Please, whenever possible, you pay them a visit, and in the tent, there's a big tent, but it's in the smaller one, in the garden in front of the hotel. At this moment, let me introduce the chair of the next session. The chairs for this day were well chosen, especially before lunch. They are all from the better gender. We have another lady. When you are talking about genders, do you say lady or you say woman? Okay. You say both? Okay. Lady, woman. Mwaisa is trying to confuse me that you say both at the same time. Okay, we have a lady woman chair for this session, another lady woman. The chair for this session is a great tax tutor. If you have issues and you want to be tutored in tax, she's available if our busy schedule allows now. She formerly worked for URA, formerly worked for E&Y, and currently works with URA as the Commissioner, Domestic Taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you CPA Sarah Chelangat to take you forward.
Those are problems of not coming for the meeting. A good morning to all of you, CPA members. Hello, are you back? Are you ready for the next session? I'm happy to see all of you, esteemed CPA members and our distinguished taxpayers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting in tax collection and for supporting our country. I will be the next session chair. The guest speaker, the speaker for the next session on strategic mindset shift for business development. We are all accountants and we really want to know how to navigate around business management, around running our own businesses, around running strategic decisions. CPA Julius Kaketo is the managing director, stroke CEO of Postbank. There are two common things between me and Julius. We are both formerly EY. Julius is the CEO of Postbank, where he has led the transformation of the bank's operations and its transition to Tier 1 in 2 years. You must all have seen the changes in Postbank. It's not the other old bank you are seeing. It's branded all over. You see ATMs, you see branches. we can fill post-bank, Julius, in the market. CPA Kaketo is the outgoing council president of the ICPA, of the Institute of Banking and Financial Services, and a former council member of the Uganda Securities Exchange. He was previously the managing director of I&M Bank, which was formerly Orient Bank, and also worked with Ernst & Young and Citibank. He holds an MBA of Manchester Business School. Thank you so much. That is a great profile. We are privileged to have him here to talk to us about mindset change. Join me to welcome Julius. Julius, you are most welcome. Let's clap for Julius. So without wasting a lot of time, and in the interest of time, I will invite Julius right away. Chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sarah. The leadership of CPA Uganda, fellow CPA members, I kindly request to stand on the protocols that have already been observed earlier today. Thank you very much. I'm very privileged to be speaking to you today on a subject that is really very abstract. When I was contacted by the Institute, my first reaction was, oh, this is quite broad, and I don't know how far you can go with this subject. It is something you can talk about the whole day, because it is not a textbook kind of subject. It's really open to opinions and views, and what has worked and what has failed. I've thrown in a very small case study that we shall talk about. My senior colleague, Fabian, who spoke earlier today, talked about Nokia, and coincidentally, I had picked the Nokia story, and I will talk about it in a little bit more detail than he did, because it has some very good lessons for us in there. What has changed in the world today? You know, the Western world used to talk about black swans. It was very rare to see a black swan. Swans used to be white. Until maybe recently. We know there are black swans in some places like Australia, and I hear Tasmania. But a black swan is really an event that is unforeseen and has very, very significant consequences once that event takes place. Most of the time you won't see it coming, and you won't really realize what has happened until you are feeling the after effects of the black swan. So 3 years ago, no one forecasted that would have a COVID pandemic that would result into a total lockdown of the global economy. 3 years ago, no one anticipated that Russia would invade Ukraine. And both of these two events have had a very, very big impact on how business is shaped, how we do business, and some of the changes that have taken place are permanent. They will not reverse to the original, to what we were used to before. So really, those are really black swans, two events that have really shaped the world. We had the global lockdown and its consequences. Most of us never knew that we would spend months sitting at home and the world would go on. No one anticipated that, because everyone was used to hustling on a daily basis. So this was something very new to all of us. And I think the consequences were very dire. I don't have to go through all of them. One of the biggest problems that we are still struggling with, there was a disruption of the global supply chain and the way goods move between countries, and that has created a lot of problems. To give you an example, Uganda is majorly an import country, and our biggest trade partner has been China in the last few years. China is in a lockdown. So you can imagine the kind of disruption that comes with that. Travel restrictions. Today, I believe if you want to apply for a visa to travel to the Western world, you may be put in a queue for 6 months, which never used to be the case. And all this happened since COVID came into play. You have subdued consumer demand because a lot of people had no money in their pockets. So if you're running a business, your sales may not be at the levels that they used to be, purely because of consumers' ability to spend money. Then you have the health challenges, which are really, I won't go through. Then you have the food supply, and it has come with inflation. Why do I say food supply? What we didn't know before Russia invaded Ukraine, that Ukraine actually was controlling 17% of the global, of the wheat exported globally. 17% of the global wheat market was from Ukraine. 13% of the global corn market, that is maize, was Ukraine, meaning Ukraine was really feeding the world. So if such a country goes to war, and that's why so many countries are interested in that war to end, there are serious repercussions. So what you are seeing in Uganda today is what economists call cost-push inflation. Like, it is imported inflation because costs are going higher in other parts of the world. They are catching up on us as well. Commodities have gone up. You all know what happens to a bar of soap, but it's because crude palm oil prices have shot up. So events happening elsewhere are also affecting us big time. If you look at almost 10% of Uganda's importation today is on iron and steel. That is our bill. So if prices go up for steel, you know what would happen in Uganda here. So I just picked a few, but there are so many other consequences of the events that have happened in the last 2 years that I've not put here, but they are very important as well. All this has led to inflation. Inflation is not just in Uganda. There is inflation everywhere. In the Western world, in Asia, the countries around us, Kenya, Tanzania. So the problem is actually a universal problem that we are grappling with. And whatever business you are running, whether it is a small business, whether it is your own business that you head, whether you are an employee in a large organization, all these factors actually are affecting or are going to affect how you do business going forward. Let's start with the case study of Nokia. It's been going around, surprisingly, but this happened around 2014.